What if I told you that the very moment you confuse a stroke for a heart attack could be the difference between life and losing everything you love in just a few minutes? Imagine this. Mary, a 67-year-old grandmother from Ohio, was sitting at her kitchen table, sipping her morning coffee. She suddenly feels her left hand grow weak, her grip on the mug slipping. She shrugs it off. Maybe I just slept wrong, she thinks. Hours later, Mary is rushed into the emergency room, but by then the golden window to prevent permanent damage has slipped away. What started as a small sign of weakness was actually a stroke, silently stealing precious minutes of her life. Now pause for a moment, picture yourself or someone you love in Mary's place. One wrong assumption, one small delay, and the future you imagine. Grandkids' graduations, family holidays, quiet Sunday mornings can vanish in an instant. That thought alone is terrifying, isn't it? Here's the problem. Many women over 60 in America can't clearly tell the difference between a heart attack and a stroke. Both strike fast, both can be deadly, and both share symptoms that often look ordinary. A little chest tightness, just indigestion. A sudden headache, just fatigue. But in reality, your body might be screaming for help, and you may not even know it. And that's where fear creeps in, because the truth is a heart attack rarely comes out of nowhere. A stroke often whispers before it roars. Yet too many women dismiss those whispers. Too many ignore the signs, hoping they'll pass. By the time they realize it's too late, the golden time, those critical first minutes when doctors can save your life, is gone forever. But here's the promise. In this video, I'll reveal 8 essential tips that every woman over 60 must know to clearly recognize the difference between a heart attack and a stroke. These tips are not complicated. They don't require medical training. What they do require is attention, because this knowledge could save your life or the life of someone you love. So stay with me, because once you learn to spot the difference, you'll carry a shield of protection everywhere you go. You'll never look at chest pain or sudden weakness the same way again. And at the end, you'll walk away with the clarity, the confidence, and maybe even the chance to save a life. Stay with me until the end, because knowing this difference could be the difference between life and death. I don't say this to scare you. I say it because it's true. One small decision today could be the bulwark that protects you and your family from a heart attack or stroke. Subscribe now. Every week, I will send you health tips specifically for people over 60. Don't think of it as a meaningless click. Think of it as free information insurance to keep you one step ahead of disease. Share this video with your best friend, your sibling, or your spouse. You don't know it, but just one share can save someone's life in a fateful moment. Maybe your loved one will whisper, "Thank you, because I'm still here." Comment below. It's not just a few lines. It's how you connect with a community of people who share the same interest in senior health. A story you share today can become a source of motivation for hundreds of others. And I want to repeat this to imprint it on your mind. Don't just watch, engage. Don't just learn, do. You can sit back and let those little signs pass you by, or you can start now. The choice is yours. But remember, sometimes the difference between a life that lasts 10 years and a life that is cut short by a split second is the action you take today. Tip number 1, chest pain versus face sag. Have you ever wondered if you wake up one morning, look in the mirror, and see your face suddenly sag to one side, or you are sitting drinking tea and suddenly feel a heavy rock pressing down on your chest, which is the sign of a heart attack, which is the warning sign of a stroke? Stop and imagine. In just a few short seconds, life can change completely. This is not a story of a single person, but a common obsession of millions of people through the age of 60. I once heard a woman in Texas say that she was smiling at her grandchild, but her smile suddenly stopped. Half of her face stopped responding. Her voice was slurred, and she could not form words. That was a stroke. Meanwhile, another old man walking home early in the morning felt chest pain, broke out in a cold sweat, and just a few minutes later was diagnosed with a heart attack. Both situations are deadly, but the scary thing is the signs can be confused, ignored, until it's too late. So how to tell the difference? When a heart attack strikes, the feeling is usually severe chest pain, spreading to the left shoulder, arm, back, sometimes accompanied by shortness of breath, nausea. The pain is like someone is squeezing, lasts for several minutes, and does not disappear when resting. Meanwhile, a stroke is clearly shown on the face. One side of the face droops, the smile is distorted, difficulty speaking. The limbs suddenly become weak or paralyzed. Just try asking that person to raise both arms. If one falls, you must call an ambulance immediately. But the question you may be asking yourself right now, what if I have both chest pain and a drooping face at the same time? The answer is cruel. You may be facing both killers at the same time, and every second is more precious than gold. Think of your heart and brain as two sentinels guarding your body. One collapses from lack of blood, the other from a blood clot, and you are the battlefield. The truth is, heart attacks rarely come without warning, but a moment's hesitation can be deadly. And the strange thing is, most victims wish they'd noticed it sooner, that they hadn't ignored the fleeting chest pain, that they hadn't overlooked the sudden stiffening of their face in the mirror. So tip number 1, learn to see the difference. Chest pain usually signals the heart, facial drooping usually signals the brain, and whichever it is, call 911 immediately. Because sometimes the body doesn't scream with big signs, it whispers with a slight numbness, a fleeting pain. Don't wait for it to scream, because by then it may be too late. And at the end of this video, I will reveal to you a golden signal. It only takes 5 seconds to recognize, but can save your life or a loved one's life in a life or death moment. Tip number 2, shortness of breath versus sudden speech problems. Imagine you are sitting still on a chair, doing nothing strenuous, but your breathing suddenly becomes heavy, as if someone is squeezing your chest. Each breath is like a weak whisper of your lungs, "Help me." That could be a signal of a heart attack. A heart attack does not wait for you to run or exercise, but it attacks even when you are resting. In another case, you are chatting happily. Suddenly, your words are lost, your tongue is tied, your sentences fall apart as if your brain has just lost its voice. You try to call a loved one's name, but the sound comes out distorted, broken. That is stroke, a cruel stroke, robbing you of your voice in an instant. Easy to remember metaphor. If heart attack is when the lungs whisper for help, then stroke is the moment the brain loses its voice. On one side is the gasp for breath, on the other side is the voice disappearing. The question is, how can you or your loved ones distinguish between these two life and death situations? Remember, with a heart attack, the hallmark symptom is shortness of breath even at rest, feeling like you're breathing in without enough oxygen, like your lungs are becoming too weak to keep you alive. With a stroke, the warning signs are sudden slurred speech, difficulty finding words, as if the sound cable in the brain has just been severed. I once witnessed an elderly man in the neighborhood telling a funny story, suddenly falling silent, eyes wide open, mouth moving but no sound. The whole room fell silent, only the sound of a chair falling when his relatives rushed to help him. That was the moment his brain lost its voice. The stroke came as quickly as a ghost. Luckily, his family called an ambulance in time and saved him. In another story, there was my uncle, healthy, no complaints, just kept saying, "Why do I feel short of breath lately? Standing up and sitting down is tiring." Everyone thought it was just old age, lack of exercise. But then one morning, he clutched his chest, his face pale, breathing heavily, sweating profusely. A heart attack struck. The lesson here is never ignore small but unusual signals. Lungs whispering for help, brain losing its voice. These are alarm bells louder than any warning. Ask yourself, if tomorrow you or a loved one suddenly couldn't breathe or couldn't speak, would you recognize that as your body's cry for help? Or would you let that moment pass until it was too late? Keep this video in mind, because in the next part, I'll share another sign that most people overlook, and it could be the difference between life and death. Tip 3. Unusual fatigue versus sudden weakness on one side. Imagine you just got out of bed, you haven't done anything, and your body feels like it's carrying a 100-pound backpack on your shoulders. And then a few minutes later, your left arm stops obeying you. It falls limp, powerless. That's not old age, that's your body screaming, "Help me." Fatigue is something that anyone over 60 is familiar with. But there is a kind of fatigue that is not normal. It is not the feeling you get after cleaning the house or taking a walk in the garden. It is the feeling of being exhausted without reason, like your body is struggling to carry a giant 100-pound backpack without doing anything. It is the silent warning of a heart attack. When the heart is no longer pumping blood effectively, every cell in the body starts screaming for oxygen, and you feel like the life is being sucked out. With a stroke, on the other hand, the difference comes quickly, unexpectedly, without warning. 1 minute you are still laughing and talking. The next minute, one side of your body suddenly becomes weak. Your arm can't be lifted, your leg can't keep its balance, or one side of your face droops like a curtain of helplessness falling. This is a sudden disconnect in the brain, like a power switch being turned off, causing half of your body to lose control. I remember the story of Susan, a 72-year-old woman from Ohio. One morning, she woke up and said to her husband, "I feel so exhausted, like I've been climbing mountains all night." He thought she was simply having trouble sleeping. But 2 days later, while folding laundry, she collapsed in a chair, unable to speak. That time, the doctor concluded that she had experienced both the unusual fatigue that signaled her heart was calling for help, and then the stroke that paralyzed her arm. Her family almost lost her because they thought it was normal aging. A heart attack is like being forced to carry a heavy backpack all the time, while stroke is like someone suddenly unplugging one side of your body. One side is a long-lasting fatigue, like a gradual loss of strength, and the other side is a sudden, unannounced shutdown. The most dangerous thing is complacency. Many women over 60 in the United States often think, "I must just be getting old. Everyone gets tired." But remember, unexplained fatigue can be a cry for help from the heart. And if one side of the body suddenly becomes weak, it can be the brain's alarm bell. So what can you do? First, listen to your body. If the fatigue feels like carrying 100 pounds on your shoulders just to walk around the house, don't ignore it. If your arms or legs suddenly drop to the floor, making it impossible to hold things or walk, treat it as an emergency. In either case, call 911 immediately. Don't wait, don't drive, and don't assume it will go away. These signs are the warning tunes your body plays before something major happens. If you listen, you have a chance to change the outcome. If you ignore them, the price you pay could be your life. Ask yourself, am I carrying this invisible 100-pound backpack on my shoulders without even realizing it? Is there a moment when one side of my body feels weak, and I just chalk it up to a passing fatigue? Remember, knowing the difference between unusual fatigue and unilateral weakness can be the thing that keeps you around for years, holidays, and cozy family dinners. Tip number 4, nausea and indigestion versus sudden vision changes. Imagine you're sitting in your living room, about to have dinner with your family. Suddenly, your stomach starts to burn, like heartburn after a heavy meal. You drink some water, hoping it will pass, but a few hours later, the world is fading, and one eye is darkening like a curtain has been drawn. This isn't normal digestion or old age. It could be a desperate call from your heart or your brain. One of the most common mistakes women over 60 make in the United States is to equate nausea and indigestion with stomach problems, when in fact, it could be the heart crying out for help. A heart attack doesn't always start with the intense chest pain seen in the movies. Often it starts with heartburn, a churning stomach, or a nagging feeling of nausea for no reason. Because the nervous system of the heart and the stomach is closely connected. When the heart is deprived of blood, the body often sends the wrong signals, leading many people to think, I must have eaten too much spicy food. But the truth is that the heart muscle is being squeezed every second. Stroke, on the other hand, speaks in a different language. Vision. You might be reading the morning paper, and suddenly the words on the page blur, as if someone had spilled water on your glasses. Or one eye might go dark, as if someone had pulled a black curtain over half of the world. It's not aging. It's not a need for glasses. It's the brain losing its blood supply, and the eyes are just a reflection of that crisis. Listen to the story of Linda, 69 years old in Texas. One night after her granddaughter's birthday party, she felt extremely nauseous. Her daughter gave her stomach medicine, thinking that she had simply eaten too much cake. The next morning when Linda woke up, everything was foggy, and she had almost lost vision in one eye. When she was admitted to the hospital, the doctor said that she had experienced both signs, her stomach pretending to be a heart attack and her eye real to be a stroke. Her family only managed to keep her because they rushed her to the emergency room in time. A heart attack is like a fire in your stomach, smoldering, burning, but actually burning from your heart. A stroke is like a black curtain drawn over your eyes, quick, sudden, and blinding. One makes you mistake it for an undigested meal. The other makes you think your eyes are getting weaker with age. But both are dangerous tricks played by your body. What's even more frightening is that more than 60% of women over 60 report feeling nauseous or having indigestion before being admitted to the hospital for a heart attack, but they dismissed it as a digestive problem. Similarly, most stroke cases are delayed in the emergency room because patients think my eyes are tired or my glasses don't fit anymore. Both of these misconceptions rob them of the golden time to save a life. So what should you do? If nausea or heartburn comes on without food or lasts unusually long, consider it a heart alert, not just a stomach one. If you suddenly have blurred vision, loss of vision in one eye, or seeing overlapping images, consider it a brain emergency. In either case, don't self-diagnose, don't take any home remedies, and don't delay. Call 911 immediately. Ask yourself, am I ignoring the smoldering fire in my stomach as a spicy meal? Am I mistaking the sudden darkness in my eyes for natural aging? Remember, the difference between nausea, indigestion, and sudden vision changes can be the difference between life and death. A quick decision can not only save your life, but also save peaceful mornings, family dinners, and the loving eyes of your children and grandchildren. Tip number 5, dizziness and cold sweats versus sudden loss of balance. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, taken a few steps into the hallway, and suddenly felt the room spinning around you with a cold sweat breaking out on your forehead as if you had just run a marathon, even though you had only taken a few steps? Or witnessed a loved one who was walking normally suddenly stagger and fall to the floor like a broken string? The two moments may seem similar, but one is a cry for help from the heart. The other is a desperate signal from the brain. A heart attack is often described as severe chest pain, but in women over 60, it can come with more subtle symptoms, dizziness and unusually cold sweats. When the heart is starved of blood, the brain doesn't get enough oxygen, leading to a feeling of lightheadedness and disorientation. At the same time, the sympathetic nervous system is strongly activated, causing the body to break out in a cold sweat as if you've just run through a storm, even though you're actually just sitting on the sofa. Many women have shared that they think they have low blood sugar or are overly anxious. But in truth, it's the heart warning, I don't have enough strength to pump blood anymore. Stroke, on the other hand, tells a different story. Suddenly your body loses its balance. You might be walking across the kitchen, and suddenly your legs don't listen to you, making you stagger like a drunk. Or worse, you might collapse to the floor without even realizing what's happening. This isn't a flash of dizziness, but a sign that your brain is losing control of its motor system, because a blood vessel in your brain has either blocked or burst. Think of your heart and brain as two conductors who work together to direct your body's orchestra. When your heart is weak, the melody becomes breathless, making you feel dizzy and sweaty. But when your brain is damaged, the music goes haywire. You lose your balance. Your feet no longer move in rhythm. One side is like the music slowing down. The other side is like the orchestra suddenly stopping. The story of John and Margaret, a couple in Florida, is a clear example. One evening, Margaret, 66, was folding laundry when she suddenly felt dizzy and cold sweat ran down her back. John thought his wife had low blood pressure, but it was only a few minutes later, when Margaret clutched her chest and collapsed, that he realized it was a heart attack. On the contrary, a few years later, John himself had a different experience. While walking in the garden, he suddenly lost his balance, staggered, and fell to the ground. Neighbors ran over thinking he had slipped, but the doctor diagnosed him with a stroke. Both situations are different, but both are extremely dangerous if not recognized in time. According to statistics in the US, every 40 seconds someone has a stroke, and every 34 seconds someone has a heart attack. What is worrying is that in older women, these symptoms are often overlooked or mistaken for stress, insomnia, or blood sugar problems. But in reality, every minute that passes without emergency care, the brain loses 1.9 million cells, and the heart suffers irreversible damage. So how do you tell the difference? If you feel dizzy and break out in a cold sweat, especially if you have nausea or a feeling of pressure in your chest, think heart attack. But if you or a loved one is staggering, suddenly falling, or losing coordination, it's almost certainly a sign of stroke. The message here is clear. Never ignore sudden dizziness or loss of balance. They are not signs of old age or fatigue. They can be urgent knocks on the door of your heart or brain. And your quick decision to call 911 immediately can be the last straw that keeps you alive, allowing you to enjoy a cozy evening with your family instead of letting fate snatch you away in the blink of an eye. Tip number 6, silent stroke versus transient ischemic attack, TIA. What if your body sends you a distress signal, but it's so slight, so vague, that you dismiss it as a fleeting dizziness or an accidental fall? What if that signal is your last warning before a massive stroke strikes, taking away your ability to speak, your ability to walk, even your life? One of the most dangerous things for women over 60 is not the immediate violent strokes, but the mini events. Silent strokes or transient ischemic attacks, TIAs. They appear as gentle knocks from the brain, a few seconds of slurred speech, a minute of numbness in the hand, a moment of losing balance while standing in the kitchen. Then everything returns to normal, making you think it was just fatigue or low blood pressure. But in reality, each TIA is like a bolt of lightning signaling the approaching storm. What makes these attacks dangerous is the indifference. Americans often call TIAs mini strokes, a smaller, less threatening version. But the truth is, if you're a TIA, the risk of a major stroke within the next 90 days increases many times, especially in the first 48 hours. One study found that 1/3 of people who experience a TIA will have a full-blown stroke later. Yet too many older women ignore it, thinking it's normal aging. Imagine the story of Linda, a 72-year-old woman in Texas. One morning, she was chatting with her granddaughter when for just 30 seconds, her speech suddenly became slurred and unclear. The granddaughter laughed, thinking she was joking. A few minutes later, everything was back to normal, and Linda forgot about it. 2 weeks later, she suffered a major stroke, leaving her severely disabled, unable to walk as before. If Linda had been taken to the hospital when her symptoms first appeared, her life might have been different. Silent strokes and TIAs are like burglars in the dark. They don't smash down a door. They just quietly open a door, just enough to let you see a glimpse of it. If you ignore it, the door will be blown open and the damage will be irreversible. The message is clear. If you ever experience transient symptoms like slurred speech for a few minutes, sudden loss of balance that returns, or numbness on one side of your body that quickly returns to normal, don't dismiss it as a small thing. That's your golden opportunity to prevent a real stroke. Remember, a TIA is a warning, not a joke, and calling 911 as soon as you see the signs may be the only thing separating you from a future of living with the after effects. Tip number 7, timing sensitivity, heart versus brain. Imagine a clock in your living room. Each tick-tock isn't just time passing. It could be millions of brain cells dying or pieces of heart muscle shutting down forever. The question is, will you sit and watch the clock count down, or will you act before it's too late? During a heart attack, every minute that passes means a portion of the heart muscle is deprived of blood. Cardiologists often say that time is muscle, meaning that the longer you wait, the more muscle dies, leaving scars and weakening, leaving the heart unable to pump enough blood to the body. With a stroke, the race is even fiercer. Research shows that for every minute that passes without oxygen to the brain, 1.9 million neurons die. An hour of delay can age your brain by 3.6 years. That's more than a medical statistic. It's the cold reality of irreversible loss. Imagine Eleanor, 70, home alone. She feels a heavy weight on her chest, but she hesitates, thinking that rest will do the trick. 30 minutes later, vital heart muscle dies. Elsewhere, Robert, 74, suddenly becomes unable to speak, his right arm falling to his side. His family thinks he is just tired and gives him water. They don't call 911 until 2 hours later. As a result, Robert loses the ability to speak permanently. Had they acted immediately, their lives would have been different. The message is clear: time is life. For the heart, every minute is muscle loss. For the brain, every minute is nearly 2 million cells lost. There is no undo button, no chance to do it again. Every second of hesitation costs the ability to walk, to talk, or even to live. That is why this refrain needs to be engraved in your memory. Time lost is life lost. Time lost is life lost. Time lost is life lost. Tip number 8, prevention and emergency action. Hook. The moment you hesitate can be the difference between a family reunion or a forever goodbye. The question is not whether you can prevent a heart attack or stroke, but when it happens, do you know what to do immediately to save your life? With a heart attack, acting quickly can make all the difference. If you or someone you know has signs of a heart attack, severe chest pain, shortness of breath, cold sweats, chew an aspirin if you're not allergic, as it can help prevent blood clots from spreading. Don't wait. Don't drive yourself to the hospital. Call 911 immediately. The minutes you save could be the last heartbeats you save. With stroke, the simplest memory tool is the word quick. Face. Is the smile crooked? Arm. Is one arm weak and unable to be lifted? Speech. Is your speech slurred or difficult to understand? Time. Call an ambulance immediately because every second counts. It is important to understand that first aid for the heart and brain is completely different. With a heart attack, aspirin and calling 911 are key. With a stroke, absolutely nothing to drink, no delay, just get to the hospital as quickly as possible. Because while the heart needs support to stop the clot, the brain needs to be freed from the clot with intensive medical intervention. Imagine a grandmother whose life was saved because her granddaughter remembered the fast rule and called 911 when she started laughing. Or a 72-year-old man who escaped death because his wife calmly chewed an aspirin for him and then called 911. This is not a miracle. This is timely knowledge. And it's true. Taking the right action in the first few minutes can turn a tragedy into a chance for survival. You don't have to be a doctor to save someone's life. You just have to know and do the right thing. So remember, heart attack, aspirin, and call 911, stroke, fast and get emergency care. Because today's preparation could be the reason you or a loved one is alive to hug tomorrow. Take a deep breath and join me in reviewing the journey we've been on. Together, we've explored 8 essential tips to help you identify and respond to heart attacks and strokes in women over 60. Now, I want to summarize them in a clear, easy-to-remember way so you can take them with you as a life-saving tool. 1. Chest pain versus facial drooping. A heart attack is often signaled by a feeling of tightness in the chest, while a stroke shows up on the face with a crooked smile and weak cheeks. 2. Shortness of breath versus slurred speech. If you are short of breath, even at rest, think of your heart. If you suddenly lose your words or slur your speech, think of your brain. 3. Unusual fatigue versus one-sided weakness. A heart attack can make you feel like you're carrying a 100-pound backpack, while a stroke can cause an arm or leg to suddenly lose strength. 4. Nausea, indigestion versus vision changes. The heart cries out for help with nausea and heartburn, while a stroke makes your world go blurry in an instant. Or 5. Dizziness and cold sweat versus loss of balance. If you feel dizzy, cold sweat, think heart. If you stagger, fall suddenly, think brain. 6. Silent heart events versus TIAs. Both can be mild and fleeting, but are warnings of serious events to come. 7. Time sensitivity. For the heart, every minute that passes is the death of the heart muscle. For the brain, every minute lost is 1.9 million nerve cells disappear. Time lost is life lost. 8. Prevention and emergency action. Heart attack. Chew an aspirin, call 911. Stroke. Remember fast. Face, arms, speech, time, and call 911 immediately. Looking back, you'll see an important truth. A heart attack whispers. A stroke strikes. Both require immediate action. So what is the lesson to apply to life? Very simple, but extremely important. Post 911 and emergency contact numbers in a visible place in your home. Learn the FAST rule to recognize early signs of stroke. Never drive yourself to the hospital. Call an ambulance. As a delay or loss of control can cost you your life. Get regular checkups. Check your blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes. These are the 3 hidden factors that largely determine your risk for heart and brain disease. Imagine you are at your grandchild's birthday party or holding your spouse's hand on a picnic. Those moments are so precious that nothing can replace them. And the knowledge you gain today will be an invisible shield to protect those happy moments. So don't just listen and forget. Take action. Share this with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Because you never know, a small action today could save a life tomorrow. Think of your body as a symphony. At the center, your heart is the conductor of life's orchestra. Every beat is a wave of the hand that controls the rhythm, keeping all the instruments in your body in harmony. And your brain is your memory library, where all the melodies of love, the smiles of your grandchildren, the trips you've taken, and the moments you cherish most are stored. But imagine if the conductor were silent or the library suddenly burned down. The whole orchestra of life would be shattered. We've gone through 8 important tips to help you tell the difference between a heart attack and a stroke in women over 60. And the final message I want you to take away is this. Protect your heart, protect your brain, protect your brain, protect your life. Repeat this as a reminder, because every little decision you make today, getting a checkup, calling 911, or sharing this knowledge, could be the reason you or a loved one is still here listening to the music of life. So now is the time to act. Subscribe today to receive weekly health tips just for you. Comment with your personal experience. Have you ever felt unusually tired, short of breath, or out of balance? Your story could be a wake-up call for hundreds of others. Share this video because just one click could save the life of someone you love. Remember, knowledge is more than power. For women over 60, knowledge is survival. And today you give yourself and your loved ones another chance to live longer, healthier, and enjoy more beautiful music along the way.